We're gonna ask a couple questions.
So
where were you last night, huh?
Yeah.
Where were you? Huh?
The first thing I want to talk about is what the Ravens did to the Boos.
Yeah, that was absolutely wild. Like, and a lot of people, well, most people probably know. Like, I used to own the Boos, or more manage the Boos because I own all the teams until they're purchased. But just managing the Boos and kind of putting that team together, I've kind of held or had a soft spot in my heart for them.
Yeah.
And man, did they let me down after watching that game. Man.
Oh, Lord.
And I've been giving Herb so much shit about his pickups, his recruits, and trying to figure out what the heck he's doing.
Yeah, I agree.
And then they turn around and just smack the what has been the number one team for a long time, and even they're the only ones that really put up a fight against the Germana team. Which is, so to show that, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, they beat them bad, and there wasn't much hope for them once you got to the end of the wheel. It wasn't like, if there was more time, then it was pretty much curtains. Like, the games that were left on the wheel were not their strong games.
Yeah.
So they had played their strong games. They had lost their strong games.
They got work, bro.
What
What was the score at the end?
8-5.
The score wasn't even the crazy part.
Okay.
They played games that they had no business losing as bad as they lost in.
Mm-hmm.
Overwatch. I mean, I've never seen a score of 0 in Overwatch. Now, I know it's possible, but they never even made it into the little spot that you're supposed to capture or whatever. They never even made it in.
Yeah.
They played Gears and maybe killed him like 4 or 5 times, and Herb wasn't playing.
Nope. Nope.
Like,
That's a problem.
Yeah, that's Herb's game. Like, and he didn't even put himself in, and that's the cockiest shit ever. This is your game that you're the best at. It's the first game in the entire wheel.
You have no reason to say
you don't put yourself in. You instead let your team take it to show what they're capable of in a game that
I was ready.
None of them played that game before this league. None of them were Gears players.
And they weren't even good, maybe even last season.
Right.
No.
So Herb knows how to freaking build up a team for sure.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy. Well, real quick, I want to introduce everybody real quick for us. So this is the 7th podcast for UEL. So what's up, UEL fam? We are going to do the Ultimate Endgamers League Podcast 7. It's Ryan, a.k.a. G-Licious, with Pastor Herbs as the co-host.
What's up?
We have the most specialist guest here today.
Yes, sir.
The creator, the commissioner, Titus Walker. So,
yes, sir.
We're really excited to have him.
Big hand class. Shouts out to Titus.
He can make it. He's a busy man, especially with, we have a $10,000 tournament coming up. It's one of the biggest tournaments in the U.S. right now. And that is going to be this weekend. So February 5th and 6th, $10,000 tournament. If you can't make it out to the location, tune into our stream. We're going to be streaming it live. Watch people get waxed just like the Boos just got waxed by the Ravens. I'm going to go ahead and say that's a team management issue. Because when Titus had the Boos, man, they were swacking everybody.
I wouldn't go that far. The league has definitely shifted, but I understand the sentiment.
Hey, listen, but the Ravens were there too, you know what I mean? So they've been able to transition. They both picked up players since last season.
True.
You know what I mean? So I think that, I'm going to stand by the team management thing. Billy, don't beat me up in jiu-jitsu. But you know what I mean? So I guess, being that the $10,000 tournament's coming up this weekend, and I know because I know you personally, but you've been working your ass off. So what kind of goes into setting up this tournament this time? And if you want to touch on what's different from last time, you can, or you can just go into, what type of preparations and things have you done to advance the league this time?
Sure. Yeah. So season 1 was like a wild west tournament style where we had tons of games. No real we didn't even know a lot of the rules for specific games or the methods or how those games were supposed to be played in a competitive scene.
Yeah.
And so that was definitely Wild Wild West. The second tournament, we learned a lot more. We had a lot more people involved. We added a couple teams onto the roster. I also started promoting more to local arcades elsewhere to kind of help, kind of bring the people together and put together something that different locations could also compete in. But this season, what is way different On top, I mean, the probably the biggest change is production.
Yeah.
So the first tournament that we did was very much like Wild Wild West style. We had a ton of games involved. We didn't really know. We barely knew like when games updated or that type of stuff. So we went into it kind of just blind, hoping to really put something together, and it worked. It was fun, a ton of fun. There all day long until like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. Oh my
5
God,
o'clock
man.
in the morning. Some people had to work the next day. It was absolutely crazy. Almost reset the bracket.
Yeah.
And the Booze won. And then season 2, I worked more on trying to expand. Once I knew that it worked internally with a pretty big group of people that I had never met before the tournament started. So that for me was like kind of validation to say, okay, let's go ahead. We can move this further. We can make this bigger. Let me start reaching out to other people. I also have some experience. I know what it's going to look like, and I can trust that it will work well. Yeah. And so I started reaching out to other locations, getting other arcades involved. And once we brought in, 3 different locations, and on top of, then the college kind of got involved, and started kind of branching out, got 2 colleges involved. And so for that focus was more just expanding, kind of getting more people involved. This one has been kind of twofold, but I'd say the biggest difference that you'll see in this one is the production value. On top of like this podcast that we have for informational purposes,
Yes, sir.
And then putting on all of the broadcasting that we're going to be doing, the stage that we've built, the shout out to Doc on that one, Dr. Drizzle, and also shout out to you guys because you two both helped.
Thanks.
Doc is great with his hands.
Oh yeah. Big shout.
And then the games themselves, understanding the games a lot better, having a very robust rule set for each game so that everybody kind of understands what they're getting themselves into. And then the second part is expansion, and we have expanded tremendously. I mean, we went from 6 or 7 teams to now about 19 or so teams that are going to be competing, and there's still more that are interested. I've talked to so many different groups, but today we talked to University of Maryland is trying to get their board involved to possibly.
I know y'all heard that. That's the University of Maryland.
Very, very interested, and kind of just wanted. I've had some conversations today, pretty frustrating ones, and then some that are good, but definitely good stuff happening, and that's what we're focused on right now: expanding and getting people involved, while at the same time leveling up the production to not from like nothing to maybe something, but from nothing to like ESPN quality with player cards and the 3D renderings of the players and intro music and the commentary and all of that stuff, so that when you see it, there's no taking your eyes off of it. You know exactly what's going on. You know exactly what you're doing. The coaches know what they're doing, and everybody involved can kind of tell what's happening.
Okay.
I like it.
No, that's sick, man. You got anything to add to that?
No, man.
Her's been around the whole time too. So
man, thank you, man.
Her's been grinding. Like, I know you've been putting in work.
Yeah. I mean,
all these clips and things.
We all have been, man. I mean, it's been. I'll tell you this, right? A year ago today, we were probably having or getting close to the finals. So I think we had to cancel because of snow or whatever. And that was season 1. That was actually season 1.
Okay.
So we've already had like another one. So now we're into season 3. And I know we were saying, man, in a year from now it's going to be crazy.
Yeah.
I'm sure we didn't even imagine where we're at right now. It would even be like this in a year's time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we've all been working, man. We've all been working. So
it's paying off. Like, just like a little bit outside. I know I'm inside too, but a little bit from the outside, not with the day-to-day stuff. Like, you can tell that the work that's put in is why you guys are seeing, or why we're seeing the results we're seeing. Like, so for the last 6 months, because people don't really know it, all that growth happened really in 6 months.
Yes.
So you're talking about, I always mess the number up, whether it's 4 or 7 teams to 20 teams. We're talking to the University of Maryland and other universities. Like, I know you basically are getting different phone calls every day. We're looking to go national, and then worldwide or international. And it's just really cool to watch that growth. And like, I think it does have a lot to do with the production quality and what we're able to show, because the league has really had the stock the whole time. The idea itself is what really I think people love, but that production is kind of what I think builds the trust within the league, and then we're able to get it out and push it out to more people. Like the colleges respect it because they're seeing like what they can clearly see what we're doing. They see the level of effort that you guys put in, and it just shows that this is something that we're going to take all the way. Like this is going to take over the gaming industry, and there's nobody that can deny it once they have a little taste. So I'm super excited. Like the new season's going to be crazy. I hope my team can, make it to the finals. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I got to get my boys out here practicing. But so with that, you've clearly built something great, right? So I want to kind of go into, like, how did this all start for you? Whether you want to go from, I guess, you clearly have, like, a long-term love for gaming, right? Like, I knew you when you were younger and stuff. You played games ever since I've known you, right? You've kept playing games forever. Yeah. And then your love only grew. And then now, though, I've seen something a little different. Like, yeah, you love gaming yourself, but now, like, you actually, like, have a love for the gamers and, like, wanting to provide opportunities to the gamers. Yeah. So I guess, what would you say from a childhood, if you want to, from on, like, what would have been your, like, motivation or why do you think that came to be?
Yeah, great question. I would say when I was a kid, gaming had, like, basically one side to it. Like, if you were gaming, then you were, and this is kind of, it changed kind of as I grew up, but I remember, especially in like the middle school and high school years, it was like you were a nerd. Like you couldn't even talk about it in the public eye, you know what I mean? Because if you did, you were definitely a nerd, you know? And before that, when I was even younger, and elementary school, and because I started playing, my dad bought us a Nintendo like as soon as the Nintendo was available, and that's kind of like my first experiences in gaming was experiencing that with him, and then playing the PlayStation and playing what was it? Is it Soul Calibur? Yeah, Soul Calibur, nice. Like the original Soul Calibur, and beating him up with buttons, and him getting upset about it, and just that being the thing that we could kind of bond over. His friends would come over, and I'd beat them too, and nobody knew how, and I didn't either, because but like that for me was something that I think probably helped my love for gaming, and then from there, playing with you as a kid, and but the thing that made me want to create the opportunity was just remembering the backlash that I received, my mom received, my dad received, and how it's killing the kids' brains, and
it's like shaming.
Like if there's something wrong with allowing your kid to play a game. Meanwhile, they could be, if I'm out playing basketball for 8 hours, then that is seen as okay,
right?
And meanwhile, if I'm in the house playing the game, that's not okay. And both of them are games. Both of them are games.
Are literally games.
Period. And so one is active, sure, and one is not as active but more mental. And which do you think society rewards more, mental or active?
Exactly.
Right? And so. So yeah, it was just something that kind of clicked for me, when as soon as I kind of, so my wife had the idea to do because we started buying like VRs and stuff like that, and she was like, oh, we should do like a VR arcade or something. And I was like, man, that's like gaming. I love gaming. She was like, you do love gaming. Like, she was kind of the one that pushed for me to do this, and I knew though that if I did it, then the business, just VR itself is not going to bring people in, right? We haven't even done VR yet. But like VR itself isn't going to bring people in. I knew that, and so I'm like building the business plan and talking through it with her and saying, there has to be something else that brings people in, or we're just going to die. There's no way that this works out if we're just doing like VR, or we're just doing like a gaming arcade. Like it's just, there's nothing that brings people in, right? And so that was kind of how the league was born. But before then, it was like kind of, she brought it to my attention. I said yes, and then immediately she's like shopping at locations, trying to find a place to rent. And I'm like, yo, like I've never seen her this like motivated to make something happen.
Yeah.
And I know it wasn't for her because she hates video games. But she was doing it for me, you know, trying to push to make something happen that she knew that I would enjoy. And so yeah, I mean, when I saw that motivated me even more to be like, you know what, yeah, let's see what we can do. Let's try and make this happen. And then she was up with me all night creating all the rules to the league. So shout out to her, because without that, you know, that time that we spent, I mean, it was a good 15 or so hours of us just all night. Like, we were up all night, just putting everything down, trying to figure out the rules, and, you know, me saying, no, we can't do it that way, because if you do it that way, this will happen, and then her being like, no, you can't do it that way. So, like, but creating what is now, you know, such a masterpiece came from that, you know, and so yeah, I mean, that was kind of how the league was born, and that was my motivation for creating it. I mean, yeah. So
spousal support is so important. Like, cause, you know, like I run businesses. Like, I know that the support has been tremendous. Like, and you know, for you guys out there that are spouses with someone with a business, like, regardless if they act like they can just do it on their own, spousal support is what pushes you through. Like, look at, like, maybe you would have jumped through and done it on your own, but that push was exactly what you needed at the exact right time. Like, if someone's pulling you back, it's even that much harder, you know. Like, I've watched people in my life that have had the other side of the spousal not support, and a lot of them aren't successful. Like, it's 10 times harder to, you know, that's the person that's supposed to be, you know, one with you. How are you supposed to be one with someone who's going the opposite way? Right. So that's awesome, man. Shout out to Kaylee.
Yeah, shout out to Kaylee.
Awesome since the very beginning. She does great with, like, the setup of stuff, and I know, like, a ton of the documentation and everything else. But I know one thing that we didn't mention is that back when we first started, like, we were trying to do online tournaments.
Oh, man.
You were running everything, but, like, 50 people trying to play NBA 2K.
Yeah.
Like, and I mean, you did it. Like, it worked. But, you know, do you remember those stresses?
Oh, my gosh. Like, we would set up a tournament. I'd find all the players to invite through, like, I would have to go through, like, Mixer was alive at the time.
Oh, yeah.
And so I would go to Mixer, find the game, and then just message every single person individually on Xbox with, like, the same kind of tagline of, like, hey, I'm running a tournament, this is the prize, like, blah, blah, blah. And the big one that we did had, like, over 200 people involved, and it was absolute chaos. Like, all online. I didn't really know how to stream, so otherwise it would have been so much smoother if I would have just had a place for everybody to ask questions at once. And stream, and I'm streaming and I'm answering the questions live as we're going, or something like that. But it was like on Xbox, so the infrastructure's not really there, but, like, they're messaging me, and then I'm messaging them back, and then the other person's messaging me the exact same question. And then I'm messaging them back, and then the other person, and we're in a chat, like in a group chat, and everybody's talking over each other, can't hear, and I'm like, yo, shut up. Like, I'm trying to tell you guys the rules, like, I'm trying to tell you what we're doing. It was absolute chaos, and pretty much nobody from that is still here.
So
but with that being said, it was what kind of created the relationship with the American Cancer Society, and it created a lot of, like, hype kind of going into us being you know, at this brick and mortar location. So,
and that's how Herb got involved.
That's exactly how Herb got involved. So it all happened for a reason. It all had a purpose. But yeah, it was frustrating. Yeah,
headaches are headaches.
I believe it.
You know, that's, I think, part of the fun is the journey and those headaches, like, getting through that stuff. I wanted to bring up, so you remember that one kid, I don't know if Herb was involved quite yet, but you remember the one kid who would kirk out when we were playing? Do you remember him?
Yeah, he would great, or and then, like, if he missed, it was all because it was cheap. It was like either at first he was complaining because the difficulty setting was too easy. We were playing, I want to say I set it up on, like, pro. It was a bad idea. But I didn't know I honestly didn't really know the difference. I played 2K, and I always played on the hardest setting against the computer, but I never played online. So I didn't know what, you know, how it was going to be different. And so, he was, like, super upset about that. And then we changed it to the hardest setting, and he was like, he's still freaking out. I mean, he was beyond spasm.
Really?
I mean, he would absolutely lose his mind.
For 10 minutes. For 10 minutes.
What?
Straight.
And they were all on one audio channel.
Right.
So we're just listening, but it was hilarious.
Everybody is just listening to this dude as he just has a manic attack
Over
of
2K.
just like crazy proportions. Everything good that happened, everything bad that happened, it was hilarious.
Yeah, he went straight thug life. Like, he was
Man.
like threatening people.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yo, we cannot have this.
Yo, like,
We
pull
let
the
that shit go
plug.
at that time, but it was so funny.
Shout out to 2K Esports, man. You guys are making great games out there. You guys are making some good games.
Right?
Every single time. Oh my goodness.
But he was good.
No.
He was definitely good.
Yeah. I
He
mean,
was so good.
he thought he was gonna come there and just walk through everybody at the
Yeah.
end too, and then it was like, you know, you gotta have an excuse when you don't win.
Yeah, he played that dude from Brooklyn. He got his ass whooped.
Oof.
That dude he was still good though.
Yeah. How's your team doing with sports right now, man?
My team in sports is actually pretty good. It turns
Yeah.
out Spark.
Tristan?
Oh, yo, the Tristan thing is like the Tristan thing. Shout out to Tristan, man. But Tristan's getting better, I would say.
Okay.
The main focus I want to do right now, and I think it's okay to say right before the finals is fine.
Yeah.
We're trying to get him more aptitude level with like shooters and everything, while he's trying to focus on being like the primary sports person, whether he's the backup for money 3 ball or he becomes the primary, whatever works, whatever the situation is going to be. And we're just trying to figure out what Spartacus likes, because Spartacus will like secure a game, but it has to be like very niche. He just has to like it.
Yeah.
But if he likes it, he just
You're good.
goes with it. So I found out yesterday, him and Money 3 Ball were playing NHL. And, Sparty getting frustrated at first. Then he goes to the settings, looks up how to like move and everything. Unpauses the game, literally passes it to another player and just scores a goal right there. So apparently he's a natural at NHL.
Yeah.
So that might be his thing.
NHL is so easy.
Yeah, it is fun.
It's
It's
crazy to
fun.
watch. I'm so
Yeah.
excited. Did you guys get to play that during the scrimmage?
Oh, no, yeah, we didn't get the chance to
that's
play that
One of the
one.
new games, really.
I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be like kind of equivalent to FIFA. Like, 'cause it's similar
It's a
game
faster.
styles, and like you
A
see
lot
like
faster
people.
pace.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I feel like it might even be more hype to it. So like, cause FIFA, I don't know if anybody else has watched, but watching FIFA gets everybody sweating. Like, it's always close, especially if it's like super competitive.
Yeah.
Like everybody's sweating, everybody's yelling. Like I
As
think
long as
that-
DZ's not playing.
Yeah, it's competitive. Then it's competitive.
Throw that, get your money back.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess I want to ask you something else. You kind of went over like what the message of the league is, but I'll just ask you like kind of straight up, because I know what the message of the league is. But what would you define the message of the league as?
So our like mission statement, if you will, is this is where gamers go pro. But I'd say that the like what I am trying to accomplish with the league is a place where people that enjoy multiple genres, multiple games, can showcase their skill and ability in those games. Like, I find it to be less entertaining, and I know there's more people like me, to watch one person play one game forever. Like, I put 20 plus hours into it and then go out and just dog people. Like, I just don't see the wow factor in that. Similar to like with like UFC and boxing and karate and all those things, like UFC was the thing that made it to where it was more fun for a lot of people, because boxing wasn't enough, and wrestling wasn't enough, and jiu-jitsu alone wasn't enough. So that mix of everything was like it for them. That's what this feels like for me. Like, this mix of everything is it for me. I am so entertained watching it. Like, it is unbelievable how much fun I have watching you guys play these games.
Yeah.
And like, if it was just one game, I would not be in. I don't care to watch the Super Smash Brothers tournaments or the Madden or I don't care. It doesn't. But I will watch Madden all day if it pops up on a wheel, and I don't know if you played it or not. Like that to me is just like, it's so entertaining, and I think that there's more people like me that will not only enjoy playing it, but will enjoy watching it. And so that is what our mission is to find the actual ultimate gamers, the ultimate end gamers that are in it to be the best in games, not just the best in one game, right? And I've seen now, at first it was like almost like a unicorn, right? You never see this. We had we had the people that carried in their games, the Herbs and the Jomies, and but it wasn't like the unicorn was someone that really played everything.
Yeah.
Now we're actually starting to see these unicorns pop up. These people that are actually good at every genre, and not just good. Like, they'll beat the best in that genre. And if you give them a new genre, they'll learn it and master it in a short period of time. And I knew
Shout out, Jerry.
I knew they existed, but we had to find them first, and so we're finally starting to locate those people, and it's very exciting for me.
I think that you make a good point with like the entertainment factor of this versus watching one game, because like I'll be honest with you, like I stay on YouTube, right? I cannot handle watching even like, and I love COD. But I'm not gonna watch a COD tournament. I'm just not gonna watch it. Like, and then think about this, right? Too, kind of to touch on the skill level of why we call him the ultimate gamer, right? So you talked about UFC. The fact that like you don't have any boxers wanting to fight an MMA fighter, right? Why is that? Because the MMA fighter has more skill. Now, maybe their boxing isn't as sharp as the boxer, but the boxer don't have a chance. They don't have a chance because you have weaknesses that the MMA fighter is not going to have. The ability to learn so much more, and this is where I feel like this league, because like, shout out to people that were bringing game into like just doing individual tournaments, right? But you kind of like pigeonhole people, so that makes it even easier for people to say, oh, well, you just play that one game. You've been playing that one game for 10 years, bro. Like, it's not impressive, or you're a bum and all those things. Like, and no, they're not. I don't agree that they are. But it makes it easier for people to see you that way, because it's like, yo, how you play this game for 10 years and like you still aren't number one, or like whatever.
Or you are number one.
Or you are number one.
Who cares anymore?
What are you gonna do? Like, what is your growth? What is your growth? And so now you have to look at it like, in this gaming, it's like, think about how much mental capacity you have to use to learn all these games. And then people front on athletic ability, I guess, but you're using your hands, and your hands have to be like surgical, right? Like, I know Herb's hands are surgical. Like, I don't like saying that at all.
I know dexterity. But
oh god. But the idea that it's just mental, like, it's not even just mental, like, especially when you're live. You got people screaming behind you and stuff. That gets real busy.
Dependent on you.
You got a team dependent on you. Also, now you bring into the other aspect of it, like, a lot of our team members help us strategize as owners of the team and coaches, like, or they train. So you got people that are training people, right? So, like, you got people playing basketball, they train their other players how to play basketball, right? These people are training people in multiple sports, okay? So, like, and there's more gamers than there are ever any of the other sports. So you can talk about basketball or football, all that stuff. There's more gamers, period. There's billions of gamers, right? There isn't that of other sports. And that mental challenge, like, especially as, like, the society is going to more, whatever you want to call it, like, more technical, that value just keeps going up. Like, people that have the mentality of a gamer, their value is going up every single day, right? Whereas, like, athleticism and stuff is great. Being healthy is super great. Like, I support it. I love being healthy and all that. But you need to really focus on your mental. You need to grow that at the same rate as your physical, or else you're going to get left behind in society. And I mean, look at how we treat laborers, right? So I kind of look at, like, the league is providing a new door that, one, can give way more people access to it, right? Because you're not pigeonholing people to one game. Like, if you're not good at shooters, like, you suck. No, you cannot be. Look, you cannot be good at shooters. No, you're good at shooters. No, but on your team, like the people, like, you cannot be good at shooters, and like, you can develop that skill later. But if you can maintain two of the other genres, then you are valuable. If you can do that, and you can support your team in a positive manner, or be a good coach.
That's all that matters.
Doc on my team, he's a great coach. Like, when he learns something, even he can teach somebody to be better than him at it, right? That's a super valuable aspect to the team. This is opportunities, and I know you've talked about this before, but you're providing an opportunity for a gamer to really flourish, right? So, like, I think that really needs to be looked up upon, and, like, I'm proud of you for it. Like, I know that this is, like, an amazing opportunity, and I know more and more people are obviously taking advantage of it as we grow. So now we just have to grow as fast as they want to join, right? It's not a bad problem to have. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I want to touch on the fact that you were, and I don't want to say you did it all because I know Herb helped too, but you developed the first 2 season winners, the teams, right? You were a big part of like developing those teams, picking the players, especially the first team. And the first team with the Boos, with the Boos though, like he could have picked up more players.
Yep.
But he just held on to his, I think it was 5?
No, it was 4.
4? So he had a 4 squad, right? And he, because he won, he had all the leverage in the world to take whatever player he wanted off my team, whatever player he wanted off of her team, or any new player that was a beast, period. And he didn't. Now, whether he was just trying to make it fair for the league's sake, or just the fact that he knew that he had a dominant squad and he didn't want to like mess that up by adding like a, somebody like, I almost said a name. Oh God. Like somebody that is just going to drag the team down, right? It would have been so funny if I said the name. But with that, I guess, could you just, for some of the new teams, because there's a lot of new teams, a lot of newbies in this league, how would you, I guess, coach them on developing a better team or
a winning team?
A winning team.
Yeah, I appreciate that question. Yeah, so starting out in developing in first, getting the Boos and selecting the team, the original team. For me, it was like 100% about attitude, and the attitude of the player. For me, the skill was important, yes, but if the skill was there and the attitude wasn't, I didn't pick them. And so I had seen enough in the preseasons to know, like, if I could tell this player, go do this, and no matter how good they are at that game, they're going to listen, even though they know I don't have the skill level to be telling them this. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to play this game. They would beat me,
up and down
all day. And so that for me was the most important thing when I selected my players for season 1, and it continued as I went into season 2. I had a dilemma, of course, and this is the reason why the Boos are no longer managed by me. Is because I had the dilemma of one. I love this team. I've built this team. I enjoy this team. They're really good people, and I think that they could be a great team for every year going forward. And then number 2 is I love this league. And when it came down to decisions, and it was like, who do I put first? The league was always first. So there was no like. Essentially, the Boos were like a backup in a way, where if it came down to league or Boos, it was always league
first,
which isn't fair to the Boos.
Yeah,
the Boos are then left. All of these people that I love and hope the best for, are second. You know what I mean? Because they're not going to get priority when it comes to time, effort, or even like picking, for example, picking up players. Like you said, I could have gotten any player. All I had to do was tell them that I was interested, and they would have jumped ship and joined the Boos so that they can get a guaranteed win at that time. But the problem was I knew that. And so knowing that, one, it made it to where I could basically fuck up the feng shui, if you will, of the league by taking on all of the best players, which in turn would cause all of the other players to feel they don't have a shot in hell, in competing, in which case, why, do they really want to compete in a league that they know they're never going to win because they're never going to beat this team, right? That was number 1 in my head. And then number 2 was I thought I was almost prideful in a sense that I knew I could do it without that. I didn't need to pick up these other players. I could beat, mentally, I felt I could beat any team, and when it comes to like strategy and just raw, like
y'all won, but it was close. Just had to throw that in there. It was close though.
It was close. It was a good match. And this isn't to shit on any of the team. It was more just my mental state. You know what I mean? Right. And what I was thinking. So that was when I kind of decided, okay, I can't in good faith have the Boos as my team and do the commissioner thing. So I needed to let go of course, one of them, and it wasn't going to be the commissioner thing. So and Billy had been asking about taking over the Boos for quite some time. So it was something that we talked about, and so it kind of just perfectly kind of lined up. So that worked out. Then, like almost very shortly after that, I got the request from Germana, and they wanted to put together a team. And so that more just kind of fell in my lap. It was the perfect timing because I was missing the idea of like having a team, putting it together, doing all the strategy and thinking about like, oh, well, this happens and what would happen with that and blah, blah, blah. And so I was able to kind of put out this like almost like streamlined tryout that showed me exactly what skill level the person had, but also what their attitude was, which for me, again, most important thing. And before every tryout, they'll tell you, I said the same thing. I do not care if you win or lose. I only care what your attitude is towards both of those things. And so that for me set that tone of the team. Like, you know, you can lose today and win tomorrow so easily in this league because it comes down to the attitude. If you've already lost in your head, then you're definitely going to lose on the wheel.
Yeah. We've learned like through this playing that like I learned late, you know, 2 seasons in or so. But like that attitude is so important. You know, you can be less of a skilled player, but if your attitude brings the whole team up, that means everybody's performing higher. Right. So that's a way more valuable person than someone that maybe is pretty good at everything, but then they're bringing the team down. You can't do it alone.
And the problem is, you are guaranteed at some point in time to not play the game you love the most. Someone else is going to play it, and you're going to have to watch them play it. Right. And if you can't handle that, then now the next time you play a game, because then you're guaranteed again to play a game that you don't play and you don't know anything about, you know, especially if you don't practice. And so when you have to play that game, now you have 2 whammies basically that are going to bring your attitude down. And if you can't sustain that, if you can't like survive that, then there's no way you're going to make it in this league.
No way.
Period.
No way.
And so that was like, for me, I was like, hey, I had them all give me a list of all the games they played, right? And then we didn't play any of them. Right? Right. You're going to play the games that you don't like. Oh, you play this game? Cool. Go play that. You play. Okay, go play that. Go play that against this person. This person does play that. Go play it. And then come back and tell me what your score was. How bad did you get beat? Right? And for them, it's like, well, what are we learning here? But for me, I'm learning everything. How do they approach me? How do they respond to the fact that they just got their ass whooped in a game they've never played? You know, how do they respond when they after they finish that game? Are they talking about how they can get better at that game, or how they need to buy that game and practice it more, or how, you know, or are they just talking about, oh, I never played that game, play me in this game, play me in this game? Like, nobody cares. You play this one game over and over, but that's not going to help you here. It's not going to save you here. You know, and so that for me was a lot of fun.
So he like torturing everybody.
Mentally just breaking them down until I thought they were ready, and then we had the team put together, and honestly, I would have created 3 teams out of there easily. I mean, me and Herb talked about it so often because they have so many talented players that like I could honestly put together 3 teams at minimum. And they would still dominate. Probably all 3 teams.
How many teams do they have right now?
None. It's kind of there's semantics kind of involved, but technically, if Jermaine is watching, 0 teams.
Understood.
So they do have a team run by G Cubed. Karma, and they were the old Germana team, and then Karma came in and purchased a team from the league, and then they will be running under that Karma team. So
player transition. Okay.
Exactly. So the original Germana team that won is pretty much no more, except for I think there's only one player that didn't go pro technically.
Okay.
So.
Not bad. So I guess that kind of can throw us into, well, first of all, Herb, do you have anything that you wanted to ask?
Not at the moment, man. Just
okay. So have you noticed anything as far as like, you know, attitudes and how they affect your squad?
Oh,
you
yeah.
don't have to talk specifically. Obviously, it's your team.
No, I don't care. They can.
Herb cracks the whip too.
Dude, it's the exact same thing. Like, I'm gonna break you down mentally. I know I haven't joined the military, but I know they do that in the military. Like, I'm gonna break you down. I'm gonna make you feel uncomfortable. I'm gonna put you in a situation where like you're probably not gonna win, but you got to show me how you're gonna learn from it, or like what you're gonna do afterwards. Because it's not if like you just suck. No, you can get better at the game. And I don't know, this whole season, like from the beginning of the season when I picked up Wankuwa, they definitely like had that, and they had like that old stain of like the old Bandits, and then they just couldn't get past like the stigma of old Bandits, we're not gonna win, whatever, and they're like,
it's not
now
funny
they're the new
yeah. But they were so hurt, but they were so happy when they were like, yo, like when they got the confirmation from you that they're younger, so like they kind of needed it. Just hearing the commissioner say like they got so much better, they were like, yeah, that's what we wanted right there. That's what we wanted right there.
And they deserve it, man. Yeah. Like honestly, I was so blown away. Like that night, I went home, I cried into my pillow. It was like, yo, what happened? Like what just happened? Mm-hmm. I watched it back too, and was just trying to figure out like at what point did it break down so bad. Mm-hmm. But I'm convinced they threw it. They're like, no. Bro,
listen, I have been doing like exercise. Like you exercise. It's like, all right, we're gonna make sure you know how to dunk this season if you're playing basketball, right? Yeah. So we're gonna work on your vertical jumps. You're gonna do vertical jumps 30 times every day with weighted bands on. I made him do that in Gears of War. Yeah. I made him do it in CTR. I made him do it in Overwatch. I'm like, look, we're gonna go into this game 2v1 against me. Y'all are gonna run away from me. You're gonna try to run away, and if I kill you, then boom. Once you guys respawn back in, you're gonna try to kill me, and we would do that over and over and over. By the time they got into the game, they were already natural. I'm like, look, you want to just move like this. This is what you do.
Movement is so important.
So important in that game, and I knew, and I trusted them too because they actually do. It's a little tough because, again, like I said, they are young and we're not that far away. I'm like the friendly coach, so they want to talk back sometimes. But no, I made sure that they listen. I'm like, no, fuck that. You're going to listen to me. You're going to listen to, like, if it's Tekken and you're like, oh, no, this isn't working. You're gonna listen to the Tekken of God, okay? You're gonna listen to one of the top 3 players, arguably best player in Virginia. You're gonna listen to me, all right? Tough guy. So it's just. Over time they really got it together and they really they matured. I'd say that for sure. They matured.
And you do a great job of getting your team to practice together.
Yeah,
which is so huge. Like it's something that I'm really trying to work on with my team. If you don't practice together, you don't win together.
No,
that's just how.
It's just how it is.
And you brought up the shooters and having somebody that can be support, right?
Yeah.
Even if you don't play shooters, you cannot be running up the death ratio.
No, you can't.
You can't be that person because your team can be as good as anything. They're just going to keep coming and picking you off.
Right.
Now your team can't even win because all you are is a bunch of deaths on the list.
Exactly.
You got 10 deaths and 1 kill. That's not what we're here. You know what I mean? And so just to be able to play the game, to know what character you're going to pick. Mm-hmm. A lot of these, and you're going to be in that situation because a lot of these shooters are 4 to 5 players at a time.
Yep.
So what are the chances? Very high that you're going to end up playing a shooter
Very
even
high.
if you don't want to.
Very high.
And I think that when you go to the attitude stuff, you brought up the military. I was in the Navy for a while, and you're actually right. You use a similar strategy to what they do to you basically in boot camp, and they try to weed out all the weak minds. Because if you're going to throw a fit about a couple push-ups, what are you going to do when somebody's shooting at you? You know what I mean?
Man,
what are you going to do when you have to get faced with a decision where you're going to piss off 10 of your people that you now are in charge of?
Yep.
How can you handle them being upset? Are you going to lead them to a positive place? And morale is so big, and when you're in those situations, or are you going to fucking bail out or make it worse? Now you got 10 people that can't join in the fight, right? Yeah. So it's so important, and that plays straight over into the league.
Yep.
It's exactly the same way now. Crazy that I went through all that, didn't think of it that way, but you definitely brought it to light. I think of it that way now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Attitude is so big, and then just that ability to eat and take a L. Can you lose? Mm-hmm. You can be sad for a second, but you can't let that take over the whole day.
No.
You lost one game, and then you get mad about a game you don't play that you lost.
That don't even make sense.
I expected you to lose. You should have expected to lose. If you won, good. If not, maybe you learned something. Yeah. Take that as a learning opportunity and move forward. Yeah. We don't but I mean, I think it again, and not to hate on the younger people, but I think as we've all grown, we've kind of grown into that. As a kid,
just naturally.
Everybody doesn't know how to deal with their emotions. Shit, I'm still learning how to deal with my emotions, right?
I'm telling you.
And I think but that's another thing that the league provides is an opportunity for kids to not just be able to sit on their headphones and scream whatever the hell they want and do whatever the hell they want. There is a standard. if you're participating in the league, there is a standard. Like, you can't be throwing out death threats and shit.
No.
Also, your team isn't going to want that. They need your head in the game. So you got to learn real emotional control. And then all the other stuff that goes on top of it, right? And I think that you even have to learn that more so because I have to control myself. You know, I'm playing shooters and stuff. Every time I die, my son's sitting next to me. And I have to make sure that I understand, like, yo, I'm not here by myself. Like, he's watching me. That example is provided here. Like, you know what I mean? Whereas these kids don't have that, you know? So that's another thing that the league brings. And we have, like, fathers and sons who play. Like, I have a father and son on my team, dude. It's like, it's awesome to even see.
Father and son on the Bandits, too.
Oh, yeah, see? And it's like, it's awesome to see how, like, their relationships grow. And the fact that it's great representation of, like, the new generation that, like, this is okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
This is something that can build bonds, build better relationships, help you with growth is huge because that whole thing with, like, can you understand that, you don't like this game now, but try it. You know, try it. If you don't like it still and you can't figure it out, okay, we'll move on to something else. But try it. And then we've had so many players, and this league is given that opportunity to try something new. I don't like playing that. I don't like the people like, the CTR is whack. And then they play it for a little while, and then CTR is super fun, or whatever that game is for that person, right? People that don't play sports games, all of a sudden they jump on 2K. Cordy's one of them, like, and now all of a sudden he like really likes 2K, right? You don't know what you like really until you try it, and that's why you should try everything. And the league is showing people that and bringing, like, I think that's just a bigger concept than just gaming too. Okay, Herb, you got something?
Man, I mean, I just second on everything you just said, man. Again, back to like the attitudes thing. Attitudes are huge. You have to have the right attitude. And just going back to, like, let's say people who don't get to play in, like, sports games, like, let's say you didn't go out playing pee-wee football or t-ball or whatever like that. So you're missing that aspect of, like, teamwork, camaraderie. You're missing, like, how to problem solve, how to, like, get past something, how to take a L. You get all of that with the league. And that's one of the things that I could definitely appreciate because, like, in a single-player game like Tekken, like, it teaches you, like, some aspects of, like, pushing through. But when you're, like, thinking about everything is, like, you're only thinking about yourself. Sometimes we can be selfish if you're playing 1v1 games and then you come to a team-based setting and then, like, one of your teammates lose. You can't be like, just be better. Just stop sucking. Like, that doesn't help out. It doesn't do anything. So you got to be like, like, the same things that I've learned from, you know, being bad into, like, moving up is that you're not necessarily bad. It's just always a level that you can get better at. You can always get better. And I think that's just one of the biggest things in the league. Like, that's what keeps me motivated. Keeps me, like, learning other new games. And, you know, I'm just trying to push that out as much as I possibly can to my team and the league as a whole. So,
hell yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's talk about this 10K tournament coming up this week.
Let's talk about it.
So, I don't know if you want to do this, and you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but do you have any predictions? Do you want to do, like,
I definitely want to do that.
Okay. All right. So what do you think?
First, second, third.
Oh, man, he knows this already. Why you been thinking about this?
I've been running simulation after simulation.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
To try to figure out how this thing plays out. I had to redo some simulations after that whole booze incident.
Yeah.
So I think it's safe to assume that Karma's gonna place top 5.
Okay.
I just don't see
them.
any way around
Yeah.
Like, there's just no way around it. Like, they're a top 5 team in the league. It's just a fact.
They're nice.
Yeah. So, but I don't know. I think that there are some lessons on their part that they didn't get to learn in the last tournament, and that they haven't yet seen that other teams have. And those lessons would be things like playing a player.
Let's edit this out of the podcast.
Right? Don't let them know. Playing a player and having that player's game come up on the very next spin. And then having it happen again on the very next spin. And continuing that for, a good 4 before you're down 0-4. And all of those games you should have won, but you didn't because that player didn't get a chance to play. And then coming back from that. So they, like, a lot of what they had, not to say like they didn't have it happen sometimes, but it was never in a situation where it was like do or die for them. And they're gonna hate me for saying that, but that's just
it's just the facts.
What I saw, and so those are hard lessons, and they're avoidable lessons if you take the right precautions, if you do the right research. And now I'm not involved in their planning and strategizing, so I really don't know if they've gone through that. I have no idea. And I'm not going to give away, what I would say to do either, because they haven't asked. But that, I think, is going to be the downfall. Not praying on it. They went great, but, I think
puts them in the top 5 and not number 1.
Exactly. Yeah. I can honestly say that I believe that the way the Ravens played, they are a very high possibility of number 1.
Okay. I agree with that.
I think that it's gonna be a tough, like
it's not guaranteed.
No, they're gonna lose in almost every shooter. But
against Karma.
Yeah. But there's gonna be a lot of games that will kind of the morale, and I've seen them go through worse. As far as the GQ Karma team, they've gone through worse and made it through and still won, right? But I just think that I don't know. There's different lessons to be learned, and they're going to see some of those, and maybe they'll learn the lesson by the time they get to the finals. But I don't know. That's my prediction. I think that it goes Ravens. I still think we'll see Karma in the finals. And I think that the Ghosts are probably third. And that's not just because you guys are in the room, but the only problem with the Ghosts that I actually I'm going to take the Ghosts at third because of what I'm about to say. I just think that their commitment. I haven't seen any commitment from any of the players. None of them. Now they could be online. I don't know, but I'm just saying what I see, and from other teams I have seen a big commitment shift, which makes such a big difference when it comes down to like you're in the game and you're stressing out, you're trying to win and stuff like that. So I would say Ravens, then probably Karma still.
Okay.
And then Bandits.
So I'm gonna take that as a thing. I was good up until you said that.
Damn.
Okay.
Playing devil's advocate.
I'm gonna touch on the Ghost a little bit. Actually, so the commitment is this is something actually me and Herb were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
And that playing together is so important, right?
Super important.
And that's people living all over the place. Like when I was building the team originally, I didn't know how much value there was in that. And I think that since I've learned, okay, like, if you got too much going on in your life, or if if you can't make it here, or if you don't have the motivation, when I tell you, like, I'm not a babysitter. So like, I'm the owner. I do my part.
Yeah.
You have to do your part. And if you're not willing to do that, then like there's going to be movements made. I think that it's a gradual thing, but I mean, everybody on my squad knows like they need to show that commitment, or they're gonna be off the squad. Because at this point, like as an original team, like we're not really learning those new lessons at this point. We already know, so it's like there has to be that change. So I definitely plan on making that shift.
That's good.
And what sucks is and this is actually something I'll probably talk to John about, but. Is like, as owners, I can go into this too. Like, and you kind of already mentioned it. Like, we get a little attached to our players. You know what I mean? Like, we become friends with these people, and like, some of them have really cool personalities. Most of them do. And it's kind of like sometimes that when you sever that tie,
it's gonna
whether
be
they're not going to be able to be on a team at all, or they're not going to be able to make it here, or like what it is kind of like that's a tough spot to be in. But at the end of the day, like you get your shot, and that's how life works. You got to work through that. You know what I mean? And I give ample opportunities for people to show me what they have. And at the end of the day, if I fail you, you're gonna have a problem with it. If you fail me, I'm gonna have a problem with it. But I would say, as far as the Ghosts go, I definitely see us in the top 5. Right?
Okay.
Just based off of our scrimmage with and I don't like to talk negatively about my squad. Like, we're gonna be number one, right? But at the same time, like, I see Karma and the Ravens. Like, I see you, right? So, and I also see the Boos, and we ran for third, right, against the Boos. And I think they were a little sharper then, to be honest. And they beat us. I think it was like what?
10
it was
to
like
2.
Was it 2 to 5 or?
What you said? The Boos
to 7.
To 7.
Yeah, when we played the Boos for third place last season.
Because
I believe it was like 4 to 7. Because I'm pretty sure what the score was.
I don't know.
That's when the last game was Madden, right?
Yes. And then we tried to go to play another game, but we took too much time in Madden. We quit it at the half because.
Okay. I know you're talking.
Yeah, I think that's what the score was. I think it was like 5-7 at the end of it all. But that was back then. We've definitely grown since then. We picked up Scarlet. So I mean, our team's definitely stronger than it was back then. So I definitely see us in the top 5 for sure.
Yeah.
And some of the other teams, like we built a lot of new teams. I don't necessarily know how they fare as a team. Like, I know some of them individually, right? But I know that individually doesn't matter. Like, So at the end of the day, I think that we're definitely going to be in that top 5. We actually play. I always say it wrong, bro.
Baba
Yaga first. So that'll be interesting. That's actually a previous player that was on my team, or he's at least the captain of the team, right? So it'll be interesting to see because I don't know a whole lot about those players, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be cool to see how that goes. I hope we better make it out around.
Yeah. You should. You definitely should. You mind if I add something really quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
I would just say with like the letting go of a player thing, it's almost like being in a relationship with a girl. Like, no matter what happens, like, you always want to try to end it on good terms. Like, you just want to try to have it that way. So that way, if they end up with, like, let's say the homie with another team, it's like, it's really no hard feelings whatsoever. It's like, that's what worked out better for you. That's like the better move. Like, everybody's happy. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's happy. It's completely fine. And then with the new teams, like, you're gonna make it out the first season. Yeah, I mean the first round. You want to know why? Because with every team, and I notice, somebody, whether they want to or not, somebody has to be leader. Somebody has to be leader. Somebody has to be the captain. With the new squad, the one that I made, the Merlin, like, the one dude, Ricky Bobby, he just wanted to go ahead, took over, and he just hit up everybody. He's like, you said you couldn't make it on Saturday, whatever. He's like, listen, you need to come to this practice. And I think they talked it out, like, during the practice. And I think so far, like, the one guy we was talking about who said they couldn't make it because of church or whatever, they're probably not going to make it. They probably are, going to end up going to be able to make it. And all that stuff happens because somebody said, hey, like, I'm going to communicate. I got a phone. I'm not going to ask somebody else to do it or ask Herb or Titus in Discord. Like, I got a phone. I know what Twitter is. I know what Discord is. I know how to type. Like, just contact them. Like, you need to have somebody who's, if not a leader, somebody who's going to take initiative. Because that's how the team, like, actually operates. Like, there's a lot that goes, like,
what we're looking for.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we put these teams together and we're trying to get people out and competing and taking care of the community, if you will, giving them something to do. We are looking for that type of attitude that, like, I'm gonna go ahead and do this. I'm gonna make the most of it. You're gonna show up anyways and compete. Like, make the most of it.
And some people are great coaches. Like, they're meant to coach and teach and be that person. And this is the perfect opportunity for a gamer to come in and play that role, right? Like, you can lead a team. There's plenty of leadership roles. Trust me, there is not as many leaders as there are followers. And there's a ton of need for leaders all the time. I think that's in anything, but definitely in the gaming league.
For sure.
I guess so. Let's go ahead and go to what's the plan for the future. So do you have, like, what's the plan for, let's say, like, the next year? If you want to talk about it. So, do you have ideas? Where do you want it to be? What if there's a plan? Go ahead.
So next year, for the next year, we're finalizing a partnership with G-Cubed, which is going to give us a lot of pull within, like, the business side of things and being able to get in front of people, get in front of colleges, he's actually the one that set up the University of Maryland stuff. So he's the one that's kind of working that angle.
Okay.
He talked to Randolph Macon, so he's already kind of working that stuff and getting me access to these types of places that normally I wouldn't be able to get in contact with. It just wouldn't happen. So that we are working on a Netflix special, which by the time you're watching this might even be but that is looking very, very good. We had a meeting today, and they basically are ready for the product, not the product, but the I think it's called sizzle reel or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is like the ad that would go on Netflix to get promoted and stuff like that. So that's what we're going to be working on. So that's pretty much this year will be a lot of growth, a lot of like infrastructure type stuff to make sure that we can sustain that growth, and then expanding. I mean, next year I would like, next year I will have somewhere in the range of 50 teams at least competing. So
love it. Love it.
Yeah,
love it.
It'll be a crazy event, probably held in 2 different locations, and so yeah.
Yeah,
that's big plans, man.
I love it. Yeah,
definitely big plans. Like I mean, I know it's coming. I think it's coming even faster, but luckily we've had the time to prepare for this because we knew it was coming. Like the idea, the creation that you came up with, and
Genius.
Haley supported you through, and then obviously Herb, you've really helped manage like a lot of the everyday stuff. I mean, and then all the like stuff that brings a lot of the attention daily and the tournaments. Like now we have fighting tournaments, people getting all hyped. There's a lot of shit going on. If you're not on Discord, get on Discord.
Please,
man,
gotta get on it.
If you want any information, a lot of these players are really committed. Like they're definitely supportive to the point where they'll answer your questions too.
Yep.
I'm not gonna say reach out to Titus because at this point, as the commissioner, I mean personally, I believe he needs to be focused on other things. So ask your questions to the people in Discord.
You can ask me.
You can ask her.
Yeah.
You got Courtney. What's Courtney's name?
Wanku.
So Wanku on Discord. Myself. But those 2 are really the mains.
Rex. Yeah.
Rex is a big,
he's a
big proponent of the league. He's been great since the beginning. We had him on, so everybody knows how much we believe in Rex and how great he's been to the league. I'm trying to think. So you brought up something, but I think that's really all I have, man. Cool. So like everybody's ready for this 10K tournament.
Born ready, man. Born ready, bro. I'm ready to go.
I'm excited. I mean, I definitely want to be in that top 5. You know what I mean? Like I think as an original team, that's just something that I want to do. We're really gonna see how my team fares. And see how much they've really been practicing. I know Herb Steve's been practicing because every time I'm here, he's got his people training. That's definitely one of the best things.
Yeah.
But I mean, hey, I really appreciate you coming out and giving us your time.
Thanks for having me. Hell yeah.
So hey, that concludes episode 7. Let's
go. All right.
Good work, man. You killed it.
You killed it, man. You killed it, man. That was awesome. All right, let's get up out of here.